Just approaching 7:30. If you use online banking apps, then you may well have been affected by tech failures, which have left millions of UK customers unable to access their accounts or to make transactions.
Barclays says its services are back up and running after fixing a problem which prevented customers from accessing their accounts online yesterday.
Recent figures show that 9 major banks and building societies have been affected over the past 2 years, with many being ordered to pay compensation.
Well, let's find out more with personal finance expert Amy Knight. Morning to you.
Morning.
We've had a run of these, haven't we? What's going on?
Yeah. Customers expect better and they deserve better, and this has been not just disappointing but actually quite frightening, particularly for customers who are living paycheck to paycheck. They expect money to land in their account on payday, and it causes huge amounts of financial difficulty and distress when those systems fall over. And the banks are going to have to work really hard, not just to pay back the money that's been lost, but also to earn back their trust.
And is it, I suppose each case is different, isn't it? I remember the spell at the end of February, there was speculation that it was because lots of money going in and out on payday, the system was just overloaded. Why is it happening? Do we always get to the bottom of it? Because it's happened to me in the past, and my fear is, oh, my money's going to disappear or the bank's under attack, but it's not always that sinister, it's just a glitch in the system.
Yeah, I think it's right to point out that it's not something sinister. So they've said there's no malicious actors, there's no evidence that there's any sort of cyber attack happened. But you're right that it's happened on January payday and February payday. That does seem to point to a kind of system overload situation. And it seems like these, the big high street banks that have been around for decades, they've got legacy IT infrastructure. It's old, it's getting a bit clunky, it's difficult and expensive to maintain that tech. And potentially that's part of the problem.
And that's quite worrying, isn't it, when Nina talks about your money disappearing? I'm obviously not trying to sow fear, but that legacy stuff, we know there are nefarious actors constantly trying to hack into stuff, don't we? I mean, it's quite worrying.
Yeah, it is really worrying, and it's why the Treasury Select Committee are investigating at the moment. The Bank of England, the FCA are going to be paying close attention, because you've got these pillars of financial stability, or so we thought, these big banks, and when their systems start to fall over, it makes the whole of the UK financial system look a little bit wobblier. And that's happening at a disastrous time, because it's going to knock consumer confidence just when we need consumer confidence on the rise to get economic growth moving.
It has potential. You mentioned some of the knock-ons, but if you don't get paid, therefore you miss a mortgage payment or you miss paying a bill, then it affects your credit score. It can have really serious ramifications for people, can't it? What have people been saying to you?
Absolutely, yeah. So in the short term, people have been forced to go to food banks to feed their families because they've not got their wages, they've got no way of withdrawing money from their account. And then, as you say, where money's not landed or moved around as it should, and there's been insufficient funds as a result of that, if, say, a mortgage payment has bounced, that will leave a mark on your credit score, potentially making borrowing a bit more difficult in the future.
And as you say, it's just that feeling of anxiety, feeling out of control of something that's really important. So what is the point at which you can claim compensation, and how would you go about it?
Yes, so you need to try and keep a record, not just of all the financial losses. So let's say that you've gone a bit deeper into your overdraft and you've incurred some extra fees or charges, or you've exceeded your credit card limit, or some other payment didn't go through and that has cost you in some sort of fee. You need to screenshot it or save the statement so you've got that evidence. But the psychological toll that this has taken, you can build a case around that as well. If you record how many hours you've spent trying to get through to your bank to resolve it, and things that you may have had to buy that you wouldn't have ordinarily, keep the receipts for those. You may be able to get that money back as well.
Sorry, no, you go.
I was going to say, people do get frustrated, and you kind of, if you've been hit by, if you're a Barclays customer, for example, you've had this twice, you might think, oh, I'm going to leave, I'm going to go somewhere else, I'm going to take my business to another bank. But that's a bit of a faff in itself, isn't it?
It is, but there are some incentives for switching. I think it's fair to say that loyalty doesn't always pay, and some of the customers who may have been with Barclays and other banks for a really long time, decades, and have never got around to moving anywhere else, this could be the sort of final straw that persuades them to switch, and potentially not just to another high street bank, but to one of the digital banks, the challenger banks as they're called.
See it as an opportunity to make a bit of a change. Thank you very much,
Thanks, Amy.
Amy. Really interesting insight.
Right, as we mentioned, we're off to BBC Two in just a moment. We'll be there